All right, so this is a true American hero, badass women, a Herstory. Sybil Ludington, born April 5th, 1761. Died February 26th, 1839. Was a heroine of the American Revolutionary War. On April 26th, 1777, the 16-year-old daughter of a colonel in the colonial militia, Henry Ludington, made an all-night horseback ride to alert militia forces in the neighboring towns of what is today's Putnam County, New York, of the burning of Danbury, Connecticut by British forces. Her story was first published in 1880 by local historian Martha Lamb. Her booklet has the earliest known reference to Ludington's ride. A later reference appeared in an account of her father's life published in 1907. Because of the lack of contemporary accounts, one prominent historian has questioned whether these events occurred. One prominent hater, contemporaneous sources suggest that the Patriot Army and the town, excuse me, I spit on that hater. And the town of Danbury, Connecticut were already aware of the approaching British troops, supposedly as noted in the New York Gazette and the Weekly Mercury, May 19, 1777, which stated, on Saturday the 26th of April, express came to Danbury from Brigadier General Sillyman, advising that a large body of enemy had landed the day before at sunset at Compo, a point of land between Fairfield and Norwalk, and were marching toward Danbury. Measures were immediately taken. Ludington has been widely celebrated since around 1900. Memorial statues honor her, and books have been written about her. She was honored on a United States bicentennial postage stamp that was released on March 25th, 1975, which depicts her on a horse. Her early years, she was born in what was then known as Fredericksburg, New York, in what was then Southern Dutchess County, a hamlet which is now called Ludingtonville, in today's Northern Putnam County, town of Kent. She was the first of 12 kids of first cousins Abigail Knowles and Henry Ludington, a prominent local figure and grist mill owner. So, her ride. According to the story told later, on April 26, 1777, Sybil Ludington rode her horse 40 miles through the night in Putnam County, New York, to warn approximately 400 militiamen under her father's command that British troops were planning to raid Danbury, where the Continental Army had a supply depot. Ludington was said to have warned people asleep in their homes by banging on their shutters with a stick and yelling, "The British are burning Danbury." Man, that's way better than the British are coming. The British are burning Danbury. Sybil's father had fought in the French and Indian War and volunteered. Okay, that's one war. I said it like it was two different wars. And volunteered to head the local militia during the Revolutionary War. Sybil had to move from town to town following her father, and unknowingly played an important role in the success of the American colonies in their revolution. During the raid, the supplies of the Continental Army were burned, although casualties were low on both sides, thanks in part to the actions of Ludington. Little was told of Ludington's ride. The only record of this event was written by her great-grandson in her father's memoirs, which were published in 1907, 100 years before I graduated high school. Her ride was said to have started at 9 p.m. and ended around dawn, mostly along present-day U.S. Route 6, New York State Route 52, and New York State Route 32. Damn. Prior to her famous ride, Sybil saved her father from capture. A loyalist named Ichabod Prosser and 50 other loyalists tried to capture her father, but Sybil lit candles around the house and organized her siblings to march in front of the windows in military fashion to give the loyalists the impression that troops were guarding the house. The loyalists fled. She rode a total of 40 miles in the hours of darkness through Carmel, New York, onto Mahopac, and then to Kent Cliffs and Farmer Mills, and finally back home. She used a stick to prod her horse and knock on doors. She returned home soaked with rain and exhausted, but most of the 400 soldiers were ready to march. Danbury had already been sacked and burned before any alerted militia could reach it, but they were able to harry General William Tyrone and his men well alone in their retreat to their ships back at Long Island Sound. Ooh, the Long Island Sound. Shout out to Turn Washington Spies. Speaking of Washington, Ludington was congratulated for her heroism by friends and neighbors, and also by General George Washington. Ludington married Edmund Ogden in 1784 when she was 23, and they had a son named Henry. Edmund was a farmer and innkeeper, according to various reports. In 1792, the family settled in Catskill. Ogden died in 1799, and in 1811, Ludington moved to Unadilla, New York, where she lived until her death on February 26, 1839, at the age of 77. She was buried near her father in the Patterson Presbyterian Cemetery in Pratterton, New York. Her tombstone shows a different spelling of her first name. The next segment says questionable history, but we're not even gonna fucking give that any fucking credit. What's this? Legacy and honors. In 1935, New York State erected a number of historic markers along Ludington's route. A commemorative statue sculpted by Anna Hyatt Huntington was erected near Carmel, New York in 1961. Smaller versions of the statue were erected on the grounds of the Daughters of the American Revolution headquarters in Washington, D.C., on the grounds of the Public Library in Danbury, Connecticut, and in the Elliott and Rosemary Arthur Museum at Brook Green Gardens, Morrells Inlet, South Carolina. In 1975, Ludington was honored with a postage stamp in the Contributors to the Cause United States Bicentennial Series. The Sybil Ludington 50K run has been held in Carmel, New York, each April since 1979, a 50-kilometer foot race. The course of the race approximates her historic ride and finishes near her statue on the shore of Lake Glenada, Carmel. In 1993, composer Ludmilla Ulela, this is a weird name, Ulehla. I mean, there's no weird names, but it's odd. Wrote the chamber opera Sybil of the American Revolution based on the story of Ludington's ride. In 2014, Sybil Ludington was featured on the American Heroes Channel documentary American Revolution, Patriots Rising. 2010, a movie was made about her called Sybil Ludington, the Female Paul Revere. But you gotta, for them to put, or she gotta be the female Paul Revere. The following reference, and that's it. And that's the stickers I put on the front. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, man. She was a badass. Shout out to her.